Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. This is Jan Tuber, and for those of you who are not familiar with our organization, we're located in San Jose, and wanted to tell you a little bit about us before we get started. We are Assistive Technology. Debbie and I are Assistive Technology specialists in the iTECH Center of Parents Helping Parents. We have a variety of parent support services, and one of our signature services is a Techsploration. We offer adults with disabilities. We are vendorized with the regional center, and we can provide school districts or agencies or parents the opportunity to come into our center for a customized visit to explore technology before they invest in purchasing tools. So for more information about our Techsplorations, you can go to the YouTube link that's listed below. And we have assistive technology kits as well that are on loan in our library for Parents Helping Parents members. We have a variety of kits which I will talk about shortly. And then of course, as any other parent resource center, we have trainings and consultations, information and referral, and a variety of services to assist families. I mentioned our loan kits. They are free. You have to be a member of Parents Helping Parents to borrow them. But we have kits on a variety of low-tech tools for students with learning disabilities from ages K through 4th grade, as well as those 5th grade and above. We have some tools for math and note-taking and communication kits. We also have early literacy kits that are available in both Spanish and English, and Bluetooth switches for the iPad or the Android. We've just added a pressure vest to our list of loan items, and most recently are just getting ready to bring out our sensory kits for both youth and adults. So today, what Debbie and I are hoping that you will gain from this webinar is greater knowledge about the newest and the latest and greatest, according to Debbie, according to us, the tools in the following areas: things around the home, things out and about in the community, accessibility features in the operating systems, augmentative and alternative communication devices, and things that you can even make with items that you might have readily available to you. And last but not least, of course, are anything new that's coming up in the app world. So please feel free to ask questions in the chat box along the way, and we'll try to answer them as we're going. If you have any favorite tools or any of your own latest and greatest that we might not have mentioned, please if you can hold on to that till the end of the webinar, and then we'd love for you to share that with us. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is introduce you to Debbie Drennan, and she's going to get us started on a review of last year's latest and greatest.
Well, thanks, Jan. Again, this is Debbie Drennan, and I did this presentation last year with last year's upcoming latest and greatest assistive technology. And I think what I wanted to let people know is some of the biggest disappointment from last year's AT was Google Glasses. It is no more. And I know it's still getting a lot of buzz for individuals in the disability community about the potential of Google Glass and the Google Glasses, but it is no longer a part of Google. They no longer support the products, and they're no longer adding development into the product at all, which is just truly a huge disappointment, because there's still people out there saying, but it works. And yes, we know it works, but I'm sorry. And if you want to know what happened, there's a link to an article the New York Times did in February about what happened to Google Glasses. But what I do want to say is the scuttlebutt is, and I don't have anything but scuttlebutt on this, is that another company, or it will come out in another format shortly. But it is, I cannot find where or who or how this might happen, so I can't really give information on that. But I did want to say that the contact patch, which I had mentioned last year, which is the little patches that go on top of a touchscreen device to give you a physical button to push, those are in production. They are available, and they're only $19.99, which is a really reasonable price. And this is a really great tool for those people who a touchscreen maybe is too difficult to navigate physically, and they have like a certain app or that they're using, and they have a certain place on the app that they always need to be pushing. You put a contact patch on that part of your touch screen, and now they have a physical button they can push, which is terrific. And then it's easily removed. So when they're done, you just peel it right off again, and you can reuse and reuse and reuse. So that's nice. And they come in a variety of different sizes in that one $19.99 kit. So that's kind of cool. The other thing that did come out and is now out there in production, started shipping in April of this year, is the Ring Zero Finger Control, which is a way of using your finger to control a cursor, your iDevice, or your Android device through Bluetooth. So you use finger motions to control your iDevice or your Android device through the Bluetooth. And it's really kind of an interesting little product. And if you want more information about that, you can go to the website I've got listed. And finally, another product that didn't make it is the Kiwi Move clip. It did not happen. That was the clip that you're supposed to be able to put on your clothes, and not only did it track your activity and track where you were GPS, but if you fell, it was going to note that you fell and call for help for you. So that just never happened. Instead, they created motion control apps for the Android, and they're available on the Google Play Store. So that's kind of what happened to last year's big upcoming AT stuff that I had talked about.
Okay, Deb, so can you tell us what's happening now, maybe for things around the home?
Sure. I know your mom is elderly and has arthritis, and
yes,
it's harder for her to do the fine motor things, right? And one of the hardest things to do when you have arthritis is put your key in the lock and turn it, because that's a lot of fine motor and that's very painful on your joints. Something that's come out this year is the August Smart Lock. And what that is for $249.99, it is a Bluetooth-enabled front door lock. And what I like about this product, because there's a lot of front door lock systems out there that work on the phone, but what I really like about this is it uses your existing external hardware on the outside, and it runs on batteries. So you can use this in a rental place and not have to worry about modifying the door or changing the hole size on the door or adding in electricity to the door. Now you can just push the button, you can insert it, and there's a picture that shows you how it all inserts into your existing external hardware. So you can still use a key if you can. If you cannot use a key, you can use your smartphone, push the button on the app, and that will unlock your door so you can get into the door. And that's really interesting to me because you can be in a rental property now, and that is really nice.
How long do the batteries last? Do you know, Debbie?
They say on their website 6 months, but we'll see. I guess it depends on how often you use it and how much it works. So I'm not really sure. But along the same veins, go back, there it is there's another kind of lock out there, a padlock. And this is more for those who need to use a padlock to lock up their bikes, lock up their locker in the gym, what have you, at school. And now there is a Bluetooth or near-field padlock available for $49.95. And Bluetooth is you take your smart device, and via Bluetooth you would unlock the app. You would unlock your padlock. But by near-field, what I mean by that is it comes with, you can buy a ring that you would wear, you can buy a key fob that you would push, or a card that you would push. And all you have to, or not even push, just have near it. And by near field, you just need to put the ring or the card or the key near the lock to unlock the lock. So now it even takes away that fine motor necessity to even push a button. And so you don't need a cell phone. So this is great for schools because a lot of schools have issues with cell phones in the schools, yet you need to lock your padlock. And if you've got someone with fine motor issues, you can't lock the padlock in a traditional way or unlock it in a traditional way. Now you can bring a card, use it on the lock, and it will unlock that padlock for you,
very cool.
Which is very cool. So I really liked that.
Okay. What about for in the area of entertainment? Anything that can help someone maybe who's homebound listen to music, watch TV?
Oh, of course. Actually, this is interesting because there has been a real push for increased accessibility on the television set. And the one thing that I really like that's come out that is not television specific, in other words, you don't have to buy a specific TV, but you do need to be a subscriber of this product, which is Comcast, which in our area is ubiquitous. I'm not sure about throughout California, all of California. But Comcast Xfinity X1 Entertainment System, you have to subscribe to that system, and with that you can get a remote control that is voice remote. You push, and there's a tiny picture you can see with a little button emphasized that has the microphone button. And you push that button, and now you can talk to your remote and have the remote increase the volume, decrease the volume, channel up, channel down through your voice. Xfinity Comcast X1 Entertainment System also offers a talking guide plus video description, as well as closed captioning. And yes, there is a cost to subscribe to this system. It's the Comcast pricing, so you'd have to check with your local Comcast affiliates in your area to see what that price is. Generally, you can talk them down from their initial quote, as I've discovered, so just kind of know that as well. But it really is specific to the area you live in. So that's kind of how that works. But in terms of music, because you had mentioned music as well, there is the product out there called the Amazon Echo. And actually for my home, we've just ordered it, and it's going to be coming in June, so I can't wait to play with it a bit. And it's through Amazon for $199. And what this is, it's an ambient listening assistant that is internet connected. And so what it has all around it is microphones in all directions along this device that you would plug in. And you just need to have Wi-Fi in your home. You don't need to go through a computer. You just need to have a wireless router available in your home. So you need to have internet Wi-Fi in your home for this to work. And then all you do is you say, like you do with Siri, hey Siri, and I think the name here is Sarah, but I'm not sure. You can say, hey Sarah, and that turns on its ears. And then you can say, I want to listen to Vivaldi, for example. And it will go on the internet, find Vivaldi for you through the Amazon Prime, because you get Amazon Prime with the Amazon Echo, and play that music for you. So does that mean, Debbie, that the Amazon Echo only works with Amazon products? Yes, that is true. So what it does not work with, and we're hoping this changes, is things like Yelp, because Yelp is not an Amazon product. So you can't ask it, hey, Sarah, what is the best Italian restaurant in my area? It won't be able to answer that question for you. But what you can ask it is, hey, Sarah, what is the height of Mount Rainier? And it will be able to answer that question for you because it can search for that information on the internet. Okay. Does that make sense? So this is a little bit different than your computer's built-in Dragon Speak, because you said you don't need a computer. Right. You don't need a computer for this to work. It's always listening, and it's always hooked up to the computer. And actually, there was an Ability Tools blog about it, and how a person with a disability might be able to use it. So you can certainly take a look at that blog for a perspective on that particular tool. Like I said, I'm really interested in playing with it myself to see how well it hears, for example, my son who has cerebral palsy, how well does it understand his voice? And would this be a useful tool for him to have available? Okay. So playing with things. So, but on the theme of internet connected things, you may have heard of the Internet of Things. It's kind of like a new buzzword out there, and actually there's some new things that are just coming out too, but some things that have been out for a while is, and I really like this product, is the Nest thermostat. And they also have available a smoke and a carbon monoxide detector as well. But with this thermostat, you put it over your where your existing thermostat was, and it is connected via the internet to your app on your phone. So this means you can not only change the temperature of the home when you're away from the home or before you get to the home, or before you go to bed at night, you just use your phone to change the thermostat, it learns over time your patterns. So once it has established your pattern for how you like the home temperatures, it will ask you, do you want me to establish this pattern for now? And you can say yes, and now all of a sudden you don't have to touch a thing. It knows that you come home at 5 o'clock, and so that you want the temperature at the home to be 72 degrees at that time, and that you go to bed at 11 o'clock, and at that time you're usually turning down the temperature in the home to 62, or whatever you might be doing. And it learns that over time. And of course, you can change it and modify it at any time, but not only has it shown to be easier to use for a lot of people, but it also shows a cost savings over time with energy, because it is learning your patterns. The other thing that's really interesting in terms of the Internet of Things is food devices that are connected to the Internet. And there's a company called Wemo through Belkin that has created a lot of different products that are Internet connected. They have a coffee pot, they have lights, they have alarms, they have a heater, they have a dehumidifier, but they also have a slow cooker. Now, why would that be of interest? Well, I don't know about you, but when I'm at work, I oftentimes like to use my slow cooker to start up food because it's easy, because I can just throw it in, leave it go, and I don't have to think about it anymore. But I often work later than I think, or run errands after work, so I'm not able to turn on my slow cooker at the right time, which screws up my recipe and when I want to be able to eat dinner. With this, I would have it connected to my smartphone. I just throw whatever I'm going to be using in the slow cooker before I go to work. And then at whatever time I decide I need to, no matter where I'm at, I can turn on my slow cooker and I can set it for whatever temperature I need it to be, high or low, and for however long I need it to go. And it will turn on for me. So that's kind of interesting.
These are great tools, Deb. I'm wondering that for those with, back to the arthritis and my mom, or people that have fine motor issues, can you voice activate any of these? Can you use the speak commands?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I'd have to look into that. I hadn't thought of that one. That would be great. I will check that and let you know. I will get back to you.
Thank you.
Good one. Sure. But on the same vein, though, the other thing that's kind of big buzzword for around the home are robots. Now, they are actually having robot conventions and all kinds of things about robots in the home. And how can that be useful? Well, currently there are actually robots out there in the home, and a lot of people don't realize it or think about them now as robots, but many of you have probably already heard about the iRobot, the vacuum cleaners, right? They're actually robots, and they're pretty pricey at $3.99, but the beauty of these robots is you put it on the floor, you push a big large button on the middle of it, and it will vacuum your floor for you. No problems, no questions. You just have to empty it out. But they also have, and a lot of people don't know this, they have an iRobot for mopping. They have an iRobot that will scrub your floor. They have an iRobot for gutter cleaning, because I hate gutter cleaning. I hate it. And if you could just stick that sucker up there and turn it on, it will clean your gutter for you. Oh, how lovely is that? And they also, of course, have pool cleaning robots as well. So there's more and more tasks these robots can do for you that are fairly simple but very useful. And on an even higher level, a new product has come out that I got to see at the Abilities Expo that was here in San Jose this last year, called the Jayco Robotic Arm. It's pricey, I'm not going to lie. It's heavy. You do need to mount it to like a wheelchair arm or a desktop. But what this can do, it's very finely articulated joints. It can get you a cup of water. It can put food up to your mouth. It can pick up small items and hand them over to you in different ways. So it can be very, very useful for those who have lost the ability to use their arms, or have extreme fine motor, or have even gross motor difficulties using their arms and fingers. This can be a very, very useful product. But the price is available upon request, and it is not something that insurances cover, but I believe the VA covers it. Yeah, and someone just said the Jayco is about $50,000. Yes. Yeah, they're pretty expensive.
Well, so yes, these things are very cool but very expensive.
Yes.
So are there some things that can help around the home that are not quite as expensive and maybe a little less techy for those people that, you know, the elderly or people with cognitive disabilities that might not be as savvy with the technology?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's get to a lower price range for those of us who can't afford the $50,000 and aren't veterans. There's actually a product called the Voca Light. I'm talking about lights turning on and off. You can pre-order it now for one unit is $39.70. And what it is, it's a device that goes between the light bulb and the lamp, and it makes your light voice activated. You say turn on, it turns on. Say turn off, it turns off. That's it. No Wi-Fi needed, nothing. It is what it is, which is great.
I like that idea.
And another thing, now this does require your smartphones again, but it's an item for something like me who is always losing things around the house, and it's called the Tile. And with the Tile, it's $25 per tile. It is a Bluetooth finder tag. So you would have an app on your smartphone, and other people would also have this app on their smartphone. And you put your tag on something you lose a lot, say your keys or your phone. And when you say, uh-oh, I lost something, you go into your app, you say, I lost something, and your app will flash and beep as you get closer to the item. Now, it does only work within a smaller space. It's not like you can be a mile away and it will start flashing at you. But the other nice thing about the Bluetooth Tile is other people who have the Tile app can find things for you.
Like your phone.
Like if you've left your phone at the gym and someone has their Tile app running and they see someone's phone is here and it's unattended and it's got the Tile app, they can say, hey, I found a phone. And it could be your phone. So through the Tile app, you can help people find their products that they lose. So that's really, really cool. So yeah, so that's kind of out there too and coming up.
Okay. I noticed that when it comes to things like clothing, I have a friend whose son is very, very sensitive to the tags on clothing and the fabric. If it has any kind of nub to it, it's very irritating. So I was wondering if you have anything that might help someone who's got those sensitivities.
Oh, absolutely. There is a product out there made by Independence Day Clothing, and these are just coming out, and I'm really excited about them for a large group of people. And they're sensory-friendly. They call them sensory-friendly clothing. What these clothing are is not only do they have no zippers, no tags, no buttons, no nothing, they are also completely reversible, and you can wear them inside out and they look fine too. So they're completely reversible back to front, and they're completely reversible inside out and back to front as well. So no matter how you put on your clothes, unless you put the shirt on your pants, on your legs rather, these will work. These will look fine. And that can be really helpful for a lot of individuals who have difficulty manipulating clothing in the morning. It can really shorten your time.
So it's like no-fault clothing,
no
about how you wear it.
Exactly. And the pants start at the price point of $59. The other thing it has available for those who are wanderers, perhaps, or have the potential, is you can purchase an optional GPS to stick that in a pocket that can be sealed away in the clothing. And that way you have a GPS available in the clothing. You do have to pay an extra monthly fee for GPS, but it is available to you.
Okay. Are there any other GPS, now that you brought that up, any other GPS devices that can help with wanderers, people with maybe with autism spectrum disorder or Alzheimer's or things like that?
Yeah, actually there is. For those who are willing, and there is a lot of different bands and watches that are GPS specific. The Care of Kids has a GPS tracking watch, which means, and what does that mean? A lot of people, let me explain a little bit about GPS tracking systems. Not only can you see where that individual is via GPS, but you can set up a GPS, what they call fence. So you can tell the system when this individual is in this GPS geographical area, I don't need to know about it. They're perfectly fine. They're where they need to be. However, if they go outside of that GPS fence, alert me with an email, alert me with a phone call, alert me with a text message, so that I know they're not where they're supposed to be. And then I can start tracking them and go and see what's going on. So that's kind of nice. So you don't get notifications when they're in the home, but you would get a notification if, let's say, if they left the home or left the neighborhood. And so that's nice. So that there's the Care of GPS tracking watch, it's a very bright colored product. There's also the Kids Sport GPS band. And again, both of these are at $129 starting point, but you do also have to pay for a data plan for the GPS to be enabled fully.
These are very colorful and very nice, but what about there's a lot of kids or people out there that don't want to wear devices, or they'll take them off and throw them out. So what's available for them?
Well, I've talked before about the GPS tracking shoe, but what I'm really excited about is the use of QR codes. Now, I talked about QR codes a bit last year in the latest and greatest. And so what's new this year is there is now a website called ifineedhelp.org. And on this website, you can create, as a caregiver or a guardian, a customized, editable profile of the individual. You can provide their name, you can provide their information, you can provide your emergency contact information, and you can provide how to approach them on that website. And that's free for you to do. And it's completely editable at any time. So if you go traveling somewhere, you can just say, I'm over here now, so if they get lost while I'm in these dates, then contact me at this location or at this phone number. And that's completely free. And that will generate a QR code that is individualized and specific to that individual's editable profile. Okay. Now, with these QR codes, there's a lot you can do. You can take that code and you can make temporary tattoos, which I talked about last year, or they have a full store of products where they will take that individualized QR code and they will make shoelace tags. They will create t-shirts. They will do all kinds of different backpack tags. Whatever that individual will likely have and use and wear, they might have something there on their store that you can purchase with that QR code on it for that individual.
Can you purchase just like stickers of the code and put them on your own items?
I believe so. You'd have to double check on that, but you can check their store to see everything that they do have. And again, you can take that code and create your own products as well. It is completely and again, what I really like is it's free to create the profile for the individual, and the profile includes information about how to approach them if they're scared, if they're lost, what to say, how to calm them down, that kind of thing. Because a lot of people's first instinct is to reach out and touch someone, and that may be the worst thing you could do, or to call their name. Again, that might be the worst thing to do. The profile, it can say how to approach them if they're lost and upset. Which is very useful information. So I really like this website, and I really like that idea for those who won't wear a band around their wrist.
Okay, thank you, Deb.
So some other things for people out and about are smartphones. They're everywhere. More people have smartphones now than ever before, and that's a terrific tool for a lot of individuals, but there's a lot of drawbacks for smartphones for individuals with disabilities. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Ray Project smartphones and apps that are made for the blind and visually impaired. And what these are Android-based apps which really makes your Android device completely eyes-free. So you don't need to see at all to be able to use these devices. And they're getting a lot of powerful and positive buzz about these products. So they also make an entire phone that is just full of their apps only, or you can just go out and get just their apps for your Android phone. They are not on the iOS system, sorry. They're Android only at this time. But just know that those are out there and something to explore if that is a concern. But what I'm excited about for my son, and when we win the lottery, I might get him one, is the Sesame enabled smartphone. And this is a smartphone for those people who are physically disabled. It is also Android-based only, and it is completely touch-free. The way they've set it up is touch-free. How? They use gestures. So it has gesture recognition through the camera. So if you swipe your hand one way, it means one thing. If you swipe it another, it means something else. They use voice as well. So they use a combination of things that you can do. And it is completely, it's currently available for $700 through the Indiegogo store that they have created for it.
Now, Deb, I know that John has an accented voice from his cerebral palsy. Would it recognize, speech that's not well articulated?
I don't know. I'm really curious. That's one of the things I want to get my hands on one to really try out is at what level of accent is it actually useful versus not useful. So we'll see. As soon as I can get my hands on one, I will test that out and let you know.
Okay. So now let's move on. You mentioned a couple buzzwords. Another buzzword is transition. And I'm wondering if there's anything new and exciting in that realm for transition.
Well, in particular, we're talking about transition between high school and the world beyond, because there's a large emphasis now for that transition by Department of Rehab, by Department of Education on a federal level, and that is now filtered into the state level as well. So we're going to talk about transition age youth and what's out there specific to assistive technology resources. Because there's a lot that's out there and it's just growing and growing. But for the deaf and the hard of hearing, there is a great website on pepnet.org, training/mapit. And this website is geared for the student who is deaf or hard of hearing, and it provides information on assistive technology as well as transition information. And it provides it to them via sign language video, via closed captioning, and via just text. So in whatever modality they learn best, it's got them all set up for those youth to really start considering their transition. For students who are looking to go into higher education in general, like college or beyond, and they are interested in learning more about their potential assistive technology needs, the QIAT website, which I adore, QIAT, has a post-secondary tool. And on this website, it's a student self-evaluation matrix. And what the student can do is you can go through and check yourself. What do I know about assistive technology? What do I know about my disability? What do I know about assistive technology might help with me with my disability? And they kind of evaluate themselves for their own knowledge. And this is a great starting point for a lot of students who, because in the lower education, K through 12, assistive technology is sort of handed to them by their team. But in college, you need to be able to ask for your tools. And this really helps students start to think about, what do I know about what do I need? And how do I ask for it?
But this process should happen before they go to college.
Oh, absolutely. That's why this is really an important tool for, I would say when a student enters high school, start having them, if they're going to be heading into college, start having them think about these things now. And also for students, there's another product out there for students transitioning from school to work or higher education. On the CTD Institute website, it's a resource. And it's also another way for the student to review what do they know about themselves and about getting their assistive technology needs met. So these are student geared, and that's what I like about them, because really self-advocacy is such an important part of that transition, and this gets them started on self-advocacy as well as assistive technology. So it kind of does both things, and I like that for those students.
Well, thanks, Deb. There's another buzzword I want to throw out at you.
Oh, another one.
And that's the universal design. We hear a lot about that as well, and wondering what's new that would be more of a universal design tool.
All right, well, I think let's look at Android, since there's a lot of stuff out there now for Android. They're up and coming. And the latest version of Android is the Lollipop, because they like their candies, and 5.0. And it's rolling out now on your Android-based newer phones and tablets. And what a lot of people don't know, because it kind of stayed quiet, is it now has switch access built into the Android phones. So now, like the iOS phones, Android Lollipop has switch access built into it.
Oh, so they've caught up to the iOS.
They've caught up to it. So that is really exciting because it really opens a new world for a lot of individuals on Android-based tablets, which are cheaper in a lot of ways. And if you need more information, I've included a web link on the slide about how to activate and find those tools, those different accessibility tools that are available in the Android products. And there's other things out there as well, like TalkBack, BrailleBack, text-to-speech. Those are all also available on Android already, and if you're not familiar with where to find them, I've included a web link on how to locate those different things in the Android world. But you can't talk about Android without talking about the iOS product, the Apple products. Now, a lot of you know, or you should know, the iOS 8 rolled out in September of last year, and it had a huge number of upgrades. And I'm not going to go into those because to me that's old news. It's now up to 8.3. And in 8.3, there are some new accessibility features added in. For example, Touch ID, which is available on the phones and the new phones and the new iPads, has now been opened up to can be used as a password for apps if the developer of that app has tagged that into it.
So that's a way of restricting apps if you want for some people?
No, it's a way of opening up an app without having to touch. So you can use your fingerprint or thumbprint that you use to open up your phone to now open up an app that normally would have required a password. So the nice thing about that is you don't have to remember all your passcode numbers, which is nice if the app developer has integrated that into it. The other nice thing is because it is a touch, if you don't have your phone and someone else has your phone, and they can't get into your banking apps without your thumb. So they'd have to take your thumb and take it with them. The other thing that has been added in with 8.3 is on the keyboard, and this again is a quiet thing. The keyboard on the iDevices has always offered word prediction for the word you are predicting. Now they have added in next word and phrase prediction as well. So and kind of notice this as you're playing around with it, when you type in the word, for example, and, it not only will try to predict and as you're typing and, but then you might get a phrase up there in your prediction bar, and the.
So that can make typing even faster.
Even faster for those individuals who could benefit from it. So that's kind of nice to know as well. And the other things they've added in is the HomeKit app as well as the Apple Watch stuff. Now HomeKit they've just finally today announced that they've come out with some products that work with the HomeKit app. What those products are, because I'm doing this webinar, I haven't had a time to research, but there are now actually products that work with that HomeKit app that came out with 8.3. So go take a peek on latest news today. There's some new stuff out. But the Apple Watch, I know I'm not talking about it specifically in here, but I did want to mention that the Apple Watch itself has turned into a really interesting tool for some individuals with disabilities. For example, there's a woman named Molly Watt, W-A-T-T. She's a woman who has Usher syndrome and is deaf and blind legally. And she has an Apple Watch, and she has written an amazing blog, a couple of different ones now, about how that Apple Watch, because it has the vibration features built into the Apple Watch, is really changing her life and making her more independent.
Well, how is that different than a lot of other devices for visually impaired people to use?
For example, with the Apple Watch, you can set your GPS, so your phone is in your pocket. You can set the GPS to tap 3 times to turn left and 4 times to turn right. So now you don't have to look at a phone or hear a phone to know to turn left or right. You would just feel the phone. And if you're deafblind, that's huge, right? Now the vibration on your phone will tell you which way to turn. Another product feature she's using is her mother is her caregiver, and they both have a heartbeat, the heartbeat feature on the Apple Watch, which is a cute way of saying, oh, I'm near, I'm thinking of you. But they're using it as a tool. The mother is using it as a tool to alert her daughter, Molly, that, hey, I need your attention. So she sends her her heartbeat as a way of saying, hey, I need your attention.
So they both need to have the watch in order to do that.
Right, for that they do. But see, these are just some creative ways that people are using the Apple Watch. If you want to find out more about how she in particular is using the Apple Watch, I would Google her name. I was going to put her whole URL in here, but it's huge. So just Google Molly Watt, W-A-T-T, Usher syndrome, and you will get to her blog post. And she's got a couple different blog posts about the Apple Watch and how she is using it. And I find it fascinating. So I'm really curious to see more what people are doing with that Apple Watch.
Okay. So now, Debbie, you mentioned that you were going to tell us a little bit about AAC devices.
Oh, right.
Communication devices.
Absolutely. And actually, there's some really interesting things coming out with AAC devices. That I'm really excited about, again, for my son John. He has cerebral palsy, and over time, what I've noticed is adults with CP, over time, their voice, because it's muscular, does tend to degenerate over time. So what I've found is there's a couple of different ways now to bank your voice. One of them is called Model Talker. modeltalker.org. Just go to the website. It's a place where you can do voice banking for individuals who have uneven speech or a degenerative condition that might take away that speech. And it's free for the individual to bank their voice. What you do is they send you a script. You talk that script in. It takes about a half an hour total, but you don't have to do it all at once. You can do a couple phrases, take a break, do a couple more phrases, wait till the next day, do a few more phrases, send it back to them. And if they feel that, yes, your quality of voice, we can absolutely bank your voice, they will then send you a longer script. And then you read that script in over time, send it to them, and they will create your voice for you. And it's your voice.
So this would be something, maybe someone who has ALS, or Parkinson's, or something, or a person who's been deafened later in life could do before their voice degenerates.
Exactly, exactly. And this is what's really nice about it. So that's modeltalker.org. And some of the apps that it works in right now, it works in some apps. It works in Predictable. It works in Proloquo to Go, for example, and some others are starting to come up into this as well. So you do need to then buy the app, of course, but it's nice to know this is a free product out there. Another one that's out there is My Own Voice, and this is by Acapella Group. They also have voice banking available, and it's also free to do. And if you're on their website, so if you go to this website, and if you're on that website, you can use it for free. So your voice can come up for free. If you type, your voice will come out. But you do need to purchase that voice then for use in other applications.
Okay.
So that's how they make their money on that. So that's kind of interesting that that's coming out, and it's exciting to have people be able to use their own voices in these devices as it goes. But even more interesting is Vocal ID. And this has created a lot of buzz lately because it's finally coming out. This is a way of creating unique digital voices. By blending the sound of a volunteer voice who banks their voice as a volunteer and the end users' vocalizations and breath and speech patterns that they have with their vocalizations. So the end user may not be verbal, but they have vocalizations, ah, ooh, ee, and they blend those together with a volunteer voice to create a unique voice for your AAC. And Vocal ID, these voices are going to be available on all, as far as I can tell, all the major AAC products, Prentiromic products, Dynavox products, and some apps now too, like Speak for Yourself. They've all agreed that yes, when these voices become available, we will absolutely allow them on our products. Okay, it's currently still beta, but actually not really, because now they're really ready to get started. They are looking for volunteer voices. So if you want to bank your voice for someone else to blend into their own sounds and create a unique voice, you can absolutely do that. And they're also, it is $1,000 for an individual to create a unique voice. That's
wow.
Yeah, okay, I know. That's, but they're currently running an Indiegogo campaign so that people can just donate money so that the end user doesn't have to pay as much.
Now, all these, in general, AAC devices are very expensive.
Yes.
And a lot of the things you've been talking about, like this,
yes.
is extremely expensive.
Yes.
So how can people find funding? I know someone's already talked about the VA, but what about Medi-Cal or other funding for these things, or other options that might not be as expensive?
Okay, well, for speech-generating devices in particular, here in California, and a lot of people don't know this, and I just found out about this through an Ability Tools webinar. It's archived. I've got the link on the slide here. In California, the Deaf and Disabled Telephone Access Program will help pay for certain AAC devices and products, or pay a co-payment on those devices or products as a funder of last resort.
But is that only if you have a hearing impairment?
No, it's for anybody with a disability that would make it difficult for them to use a traditional telephone. So it could be for those individuals who are blind. It can be for those individuals who have no voice, who need an AAC device to talk on the phone for them to be understood. And so, for example, many medical insurances pay 80% on a device. Well, if you're talking about an AAC device that costs $8,000, your insurance company pays 80%, you're still stuck with 20%. That can be a lot of money for these individuals. Well, the California Deaf and Disabled Telephone Access will say, okay, you need to get a speech therapist evaluation saying you need the device to talk on the phone. You need to show that you have contacted your insurance company and they've agreed to pay 80% or not at all, depending on the insurance company. It needs to be one of their approved devices, and the list of vendors and applications and an application to do this are on the website I've included on this slide. And then they will agree to cover the cost of the device. That's simple. I love it.
Wow.
And they're also running a pilot program using tablets as a speech generating device. So that means a tablet and an app for use on the telephone. It's a pilot program, but it is coming up that they might be able to soon use tablets and an app for that. So that's another possibility that might be springing up as well.
And will that app be free then?
It should be, if they agree that you need it and if it becomes one of their approved vendors, yes. It would become free for the end user as long as you've gone through all your other funding resources. This would be a funder of last resort.
Okay.
So that's good to know.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, Debbie, I was going to ask you, because you did mention that you were going to talk a little bit about things you can make at home. And one of my neighbors is a very, very skilled handyman.
Yeah.
And he has volunteered to make some accommodations and modify some things in my mom's home.
Lovely.
So I'm wondering what you can show us, or if there's templates that he can follow, or things that you know about that he might be able to use to make accessing some of the tools at home easier for my mom.
Well, a lot of you have heard about 3D printing, because that's like blown up, right? The idea of using a 3D printer for orthotics, for prosthetics, for doing a specific task, that kind of thing. And there is a wonderful volunteer organization I've talked about before that specializes in hand and arm orthotics and prosthetics called enablingthefuture.org. What a lot of people don't realize is if this is something you need or your mother might need, is a specific orthotic or prosthetic, they have useful templates and tips on how to do it yourself available on their website. And in our area, at least here in San Jose, there are 3D printers in the local libraries. There's a 3D printer that anyone can access with assistance at the Tech Museum of Innovation. So 3D printers are becoming more ubiquitous in the environment to get access to. So you don't even need to have your own 3D printer.
So when you say template, do you mean it's the computer programming to create this that they give you? Okay.
Yes, and the information how to do it and then modify it for your own specific needs. And it's a whole community of individuals throughout the world on that website. So if you have a question, you can post it and you will have someone come back to you.
It sounds very complicated. Do you have to be a computer engineer to do this?
Apparently not. There are high schools who use 3D printing. So if you find a local high school student who can code it for you. But let's say you don't want to go that route. Let's say you're looking for even simpler tools. There is a great website on instructables. And the channel is Assistive Technology. And on this Instructables channel are all kinds of tools for assistive technology for do-it-yourself. From a card holder for those with fine motor issues but want to play their, bingo, or not bingo, poker. You can make it, there's instructions on there how to use old CD discs to make a card holder. And all the way to the very complicated idea of creating a stool using a old power wheelchair battery, a joystick, and Arduino, which is a type of computer, small, inexpensive hard drive technology to create a moving stool that you can manipulate on your own. And that's all on the Instructables website for do-it-yourself. So they have all kinds of things from how to create a larger key ring all the way up to very complicated using Arduino, which I don't know much about Arduino, but if you're very techy, this is something you are very familiar with.
Okay.
So it's awesome to know about those things. So that's another way of doing it. But yes, I also did say I'd mention apps, and we're getting down to the end of our hour here. So there's so many apps for both the iPhone and the Android and that have come out that I cannot even start mentioning them. So what I thought I would do is mention a trend that I saw in apps that's coming up. Okay? And the trend is using the app to connect with other people in your environment to get assistance. It's almost like crowdsourcing, but using the app to get help with the people in your environment. What does that mean? Explain. Okay, for an example, there's an app out there called Be My Eyes. Okay, and with this app, it's created for individuals with visual impairments or who are blind. But I could also see a use for it for somebody who has a literacy impairment and can't read well, or a cognitive impairment. And with this, it's iOS only. With this app, you have a whole slew of volunteers who have good vision and who have agreed to help those who are low vision, who are needing help, to see whatever it is they're seeing and let them know what it is that they are seeing. And so the individual who is blind would take this app and say, oh, I'm having trouble, I'm at the grocery store, I can't tell which baked beans can is bacon and which is vegetarian. And you know, my husband's vegetarian, so I have to make sure I pick up the right can, but I can't tell visually which is which. So I would take my phone with the app on it, push on the app, hold it up to the two cans and say, what am I seeing? Be my eyes. And a volunteer out there on the internet and this app would say, you're seeing two cans. One is for baked beans with bacon and one is vegetarian. The one that is the baked beans is on the right, the other one's on the left. And then you'd say, thank you. And now you know what you saw, and you can pick out the right can. And that's the idea behind Be My Eyes. It's using your resource of people to help you navigate visually in your world.
Now, do you choose people and ask them to have this app on their phone for you?
No, it's anybody who's out there who's agreed to be a volunteer eyes can do this. So you could come be a volunteer eyes for somebody in New York that you don't know who it is. And you don't have to do it all the time, only when you're available.
So are you volunteering just for one person, or are you getting clicks on your phone all day long?
You could be getting clicks on your phone all day long. You do not have to respond. And it's not, and you can set it so that you only see when you're willing to spend some time helping somebody be their eyes. So it's really up to you how much you, as a volunteer visual person, helps an individual who's looking for help.
Okay, but when the individual who needs help is using that app, it's going out to the whole group of people. Okay.
Right, and those who are available can respond back.
Okay, gotcha.
And so sort of in the same vein of using the people in your environment, using an app to get help from the people in your environment, this is a whole app pack for individuals with cognitive disabilities. It's just coming out. It's been big in Europe. It's now available here in the United States through Touch the Future. And it is both Android and it is iOS as well. And the one I want to highlight in this whole pack is Blue Assist. And this is big, again, in European countries, and now it's just come here to the United States. But with the Blue Assist app, an individual with a cognitive disability would have on the app the traditional blue background with the white wheelchair. So the individual they're trying to get help from would know that they have a disability of some sort. And that individual with a disability has already worked out with their caregiver or guardian potential problems that may occur as they're out and about in the community, things that they may have questions about. For example, let's say it's an individual who takes the bus to go to the Safeway store, and they're always forgetting which stop to get off on to get to the Safeway store. So that individual can have pre-programmed into the app by their caregiver and themselves the question, where is the stop for the Safeway store? Okay, is this my stop? And the individual could then show their phone to another bus rider who's with them, and the first thing that other bus rider will see is the blue background with the white wheelchair icon with the "Can you help me?" And that individual then has the option of the other bus rider can say, "Yes, I can help you," or "No, I don't have time right now, I'm sorry." And then that person can then ask somebody else for help. And then if the individual says, yeah, I've got some time, then they can then ask that question via the text message on the Blue Assist and get the help that they need to be independent.
Now, how is that different than using text or any of the pre-programmable AAC apps on your phone?
What this does is it's for individuals who maybe are verbal that get nervous in a situation where they're anxious and their voice goes out the window. They can't pull together the right things to say. It's also good for individuals who are not literate, who can't text. And it's very big and it's very bold, so it's easy app for them to find.
Okay.
You need help, push this button, bam, you're going to get some help from somebody in your environment. It's also a great way of alerting, for example, the bus driver that this is an individual with a disability who might need extra help finding the right stop. So when they get on the bus, they can ask the bus driver, can you tell me when my Safeway stop is? And the bus driver will then, hey, this is a stop to get off on for Safeway. And they're more than happy to do that here in the U.S. So that's a really good product to use the crowd, the people in your environment to get the help you need without pushing on them, without being so aggressive that they are like put off by you.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have a whole other series of products for individuals with cognitive disabilities that's now going to be available. A very simplified phone book which uses the picture of the individual. You push the picture, it calls them. And you can set their phone book so that if you've got someone who's always calling grandma, and grandma really doesn't want to be called, between 9 to 5 because they're at work, you can have grandma grayed out between 9 and 5.
Oh.
So grandma cannot be called between 9 and 5, but can only be called in certain times, which is nice because you have those users with cognitive disabilities who are going to call somebody all the time, and that may or may not be appropriate. So this way you can set what is appropriate. It also has a calendar feature, which is a simplified calendar for individuals with cognitive disabilities using a lot of pictures. A photo album, same thing, very simplified. And the new product coming out, which is Via Amigo, which is a wayfinding, a map, like Google Maps for individuals with cognitive disabilities, so they can get out in the community more. So I'm really excited to see that product and see how that looks.
Okay. Deb, since we're getting towards the end of our webinar, I wonder if you can start telling us about what's in the future, what's being developed now, and things to look forward to.
Let's hope these things come out. Well, one thing that's coming out that I know you'll be excited about because you're a former sign language interpreter is the UNI. And this is a sign language to speech interpretation and speech to text. It's by motionsavvy.com. It's going to be $7.99, but that will include the tablet. It will include Leap Motion because it uses Leap Motion technology for the gesture recognition, the sign language recognition. It will have the Dragon voice recognition built onto it so that it can take the voice and translate that to text. And Sign Builder, which is their software, which will interpret the sign language into text.
Well, as a former counselor with the deaf, I have a couple questions here.
I bet you do.
ASL, of course, has a different syntax than English, and I'm wondering how does the software, if someone is signing not in English order and is signing in ASL, how does the software then create the English sentence so that when they show that to a hearing person, it comes out appropriately?
Well, that's what Sign Builder is all about. Sign Builder will do, its best to translate to proper English, but you also add into it as you go. So this is a Sign Builder software is meant for you to correct as you go. So as more people use the tool, it will get better and better with using ASL to English.
Okay.
So it is meant for you to help build its bank, as it were.
So is that
for contextual English?
Okay. When you say, is that on the same order as using word prediction, and word prediction begins to learn the way that you speak?
Exactly. Same idea. So this is exciting, and that's coming out.
And this would be great because it would allow people with hearing impairments to have spontaneous conversations with people that don't, rather than having to text or write back and forth.
Right, because that writing back and forth, you're slowing down already, and you're already editing out what you're going to say because you don't want to spend that much time typing. Exactly.
And it allows them to say it in their native language.
Exactly. Huge. I love it. So I'm excited to see that product come out.
Okay. What else is coming out, Debbie?
Well, in the lock format, because I love locks, There's something coming out called the Sesame Smart Lock. And this is a current Kickstarter campaign, and hopefully it actually made its way, and it's actually starting shipping. It was supposed to start shipping in May. I haven't had a chance to verify that it's out there now. But this is a product that fits over your existing deadbolt and runs on batteries. So again, this is not something you're going to have to modify your door for. And yes, you can use an app to open the deadbolt, but, and here's the beautiful thing, I have a mother who could use this, and she always leaves her smartphone in the house, and she's always having trouble with her door. You can also set up a knock pattern on the door to unlock your deadbolt.
So you don't need to have your phone with you.
You don't need to have your phone. You don't need to have a key. You can knock 5 times in a pattern, and bam, you're in. It unlocks your door. How cool is that? So anyway, that's coming out, and it should be out now, so you may want to check on that and see if it's out there yet.
Debbie, what if somebody is just knocking on your door?
Well, just don't set it to that pattern. That's why you set it to a specific pattern, like, you know, bump, da 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 da, bump. That would be a very specific pattern. Or that would be a very specific pattern. I wouldn't do that, because anybody could open your door. That would be bad.
Okay.
So something else that's coming out to the stove and the cooking realm of things is the Meld stove knob and clip for your pot. It's got an app to go with it. It's a Kickstarter campaign set to come out in October with a $129 pre-order. What does this do? It provides precision temperature control, and it makes automatic adjustments to your stove knob based on recipes through the app. So what does that mean? I'm on my phone. I put the clip in the pot. I need the pot to come to a boil. Once it's come to a boil, I need the pot to go down to simmer for 10 minutes. Okay? I put the clip in the pot. I put the Meld knob on the stove, and I program my app. Boil. Once it's at a boil, turn it down to simmer, 10 minutes. The knob will turn automatically when it hits boil, and we'll keep it to simmer for 10 minutes and then turn the stove off when it's done. How cool is that? This is great for individuals who forget to turn off your stove. How, you know, for individuals in the home who are boiling a pot of water, go off and do something else, you can have it set to boil and then turn off. So after it's done boiling, it just turns off the stove. So you're not going to have this thing boiling and boiling and boiling until it's dry and possibly cause a fire anymore. This fits over existing stove knobs. It works on gas and electric. So I'm really excited to see this actually out, because I think it'd be very, very helpful for a lot of individuals.
And even people that have maybe some dementia that might leave their stove on, it will turn it off.
If you have the app programmed to do so. Right. And that's where you would come in and program those apps.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So another thing that's coming out, and I've put it on our Facebook page a few times, and I'm really excited for John for this, is something called the Kangaroo Wheelchair Transporter. It's not a car. You do not need a driver's license for this.
But you operate it on a road?
You can operate it on a road where you could operate, say, a golf cart. It goes only to 25 miles an hour, which is why you do not need a driver's license to run this transporter. And what it does, it's for those individuals who use wheelchairs. The back of the car lifts up completely. You can roll right into the car, right up to the steering wheel controls, have it come down behind you, and you can drive your transporter around. This saves your arms. This is great for around the town. This is great for around a college campus if it's raining. I mean, just think
all
of
those
it.
times so last year.
And they're coming out with a product for power wheelchair users as well. The Kangaroo for manual wheelchairs is going to be out sooner. $100 will reserve you one. And it is completely refundable if you change your mind. And for the power wheelchair one, you'll be able to use a joystick to move the car. So this is huge. I'm really excited for these, and as soon as they're available, I'm getting one for John. Happy birthday to you, right?
That's wonderful.
So that's coming out.
I wanted to ask you about safety.
Right.
As you know, my daughter lives in New York City, and she uses the subways very late at night, and so I'm always worried when I don't hear from her. And she's very picky about the things I offer or suggest for her to use.
Well, of
so
course.
do you have any ideas?
Absolutely. There's something coming out called the Cuff safety jewelry. And this is coming out this summer. And starting price for a piece of jewelry is $49. And what this is not only does it hook up to your phone with buzzing for messages and voice activity and provide activity tracking, it's fashionable. You know, it looks like jewelry. It also has a push button emergency notification on the jewelry itself and GPS. So you can push a button on that jewelry if you feel unsafe to a loved one. The loved one will know where you are and know that you're feeling unsafe and can either call you, get to you, call 911, whatever it may be.
Now, does the loved one have to have a similar piece of jewelry for this to work?
Nope, just a phone. Just their phone. Smartphone.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter could list her brother
exactly
on there, and if she's in trouble, he would know where she is and
yes.
would be able to get to her.
Right, or get the police to her. And it's a piece of jewelry, so it doesn't look funny. It
mm-hmm.
looks nice. So that's and
it's not an obvious looking.
No, it's not an obvious looking tool. Something else in the realm of safety is also a product that's actually available in England right now, and hopefully will get to the U.S. soon. It's called Volvo Life Paint. What is this? This is a water-based clear paint that during the day you can't see, but at night it is completely reflective for headlights. What can you do with this? You can paint this on a backpack. You can paint this on a helmet. You can paint this on a bike or a wheelchair so that at night you are completely visible. And in the picture, I don't know if you can see, there are actually 3 bicyclists in the picture I've included. 2 of them have the Volvo Life paint on their bikes, their jackets, and their helmets. The third one does not, and you can barely see that third person in there.
This would be good for joggers too, wouldn't it?
It would. It'd be great for joggers. So that's coming out to try to reduce, increase visibility for individuals at night. So I'm excited about that particular product. Another product coming out is something called Pocket.com. And this has gotten a lot of good buzz. It was a fully funded Indiegogo campaign, and it's in production currently. What this does is it runs on any device, and it translates unintelligible pronunciation. So for individuals who have a speech impediment or having a bad day with their speech impediment, it can translate that unintelligible pronunciation into an understandable speech in any language. It does not translate Spanish to English, but it will translate English unintelligible to English intelligible.
Now, would that be something that, let's say, John would be able to use?
Hopefully. I'm really curious because that would be great because on those days when, let's say, he doesn't have his model talker voice going, but he's having a bad speech day, he could use his phone to be understood in an unfamiliar listener through this app. So I'm really excited to see this product actually in production. So we'll see. Fingers crossed it actually is as good as they say it is, but they didn't have any indication on their website as to when it might be ready. So
now, is this something that would also be helpful for someone who has heavily accented English because they're non-native speakers?
It could be, yeah, absolutely. So again, I'm really curious to see how this one's going to work. So we'll see. I know it's been at some of the Abilities Expo. It didn't come to the one locally for us, so I didn't get a chance to see it in action yet.
Okay. You've talked a lot about the Apple Watch, Debbie, and I'm wondering, is there something that might have more functionality, be less expensive?
Well, forget the
Apple Watch. That could also help, maybe help with visual impairments as well as other disabilities.
Well, one thing that's coming out is something called the U-strap bracelet. Okay, and this does not need to get paired with a phone, so you don't need a smartphone or anything like that. It is $349, so it is the same price point as an Apple Watch, sorry. But what this does is it uses ultrasonic technology to scan your path. And it vibrates differently as you get closer to an object. So, and you can also tag items so that your wristband will vibrate as you get close to those specific items via the tag.
Now, is this designed to replace, let's say, a cane?
No, you use it with a cane. For individuals who are blind using a cane, the cane is great from waist down in finding objects in their field. However, many individuals who are blind often run into things that are chest level and above because their cane does not sense them. The ultrasonic would sense them and would alert them that something is coming. Something's going to be in your way really soon. And so they can make motions to get around whatever that is via the ultrasonic taps by moving further away from it.
Okay, so the two items together can make kind of a complete,
absolutely, yes,
mobility
exactly.
package.
And what's really nice, again, is the tags that you can tag an item. So if you're in your own environment, you can put an ultrasonic tag, for example, on your cell phone or on your keys or wherever, and you will then know via the bracelet when you're getting close to those keys or cell phone or whatever you put that tag on.
That's amazing, and that's something that's still in production?
Yeah, it's still in production, but it is pre-order at $349.
Okay.
So now it's your guys' turn. There's a lot I didn't talk about, obviously, in the interest of time, and we're almost out of time. But if there is something that you've seen that you really want to make sure other people know about, this is your chance. Let's hear it. What you got? And if you don't have anything, that's okay too.
I think you might have overwhelmed us with so many products.
I probably did. So thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions about anything we've said here today, here's our contact information. Feel free to connect with us. Again, we really appreciate your time. I love doing the latest and greatest. It's always fun to see what's out there and what's coming and what happens.
So thank you so much for coming today.